or whatever. But I was going to do it, but then I thought also I wanted to have a break, and I know I make quite a lot of videos, so I thought I'd have a bit of a break on the 13th. But anyway, I was just about to say I'm just waiting for YouTube, and it looks like it has uploaded. So anyway, welcome to part 1 of Asian Wednesdays, Asia's Wednesdays in Asia, and that kind of thing. Just a quirky little title. I decided to give it a quirky title. As my mate said to me, my mate David said it's Wednesdays everywhere, or whatever. I think that was a different day, or whatever. It's Mondays everywhere, or whatever. But anyway, here are my plans for empowering Asians on Wednesday, especially in Asia itself. Made me think of, and as ever, those from the diaspora, however you pronounce it, as usual. So here goes. These are pointers, number 1 to 10, as per usual. So number 1, as per usual, I'm starting with my selfish idea about how I'd love for Asians to, I guess, sponsor, invest into, support, follow, and just generally benefit, hopefully mutually benefit Italian footy and help them to win and become world class, and hopefully therefore win lots of things, most importantly winning games, and hopefully most importantly winning trophies and that kind of thing. So helping Italian soccer or football or whatever you want to call it teams at club and country level, teams like Inter Milan, AC Milan, Monza, Roma, Italian football generally, and the national team, and practicing together. Hopefully that will help Asian football development to improve as well. But at the same time, hopefully they'll help Asian projects in return. And hopefully I'll have a lot of fun. I know Italy's obviously not very good at geography, but even I know Italy's obviously in Europe, which I suppose would be quite coincidental because it's a similar background to me, European and Asian. Normally, I don't really support European nations that much because of the colonialism as an anti-imperialist, but I guess in football I support the Mediterranean nations, but I'd love for, especially Italy, to, from a selfish point of view, so I include it as point number 1. Also, I almost forgot to say, I'd love to support Asian poets. I'd love to support Asians to get into things like poetry and that kind of thing. I was going to sort out my own paperwork and things like that with my hoarding and that kind of thing. But go through what I want to write. If I could, I would have writings everywhere, but I guess I shouldn't get in other people's way. And another dilemma is I don't want to chop too many trees down. But I think I've gone through quite a few points for point number 1, and quite a lot of detail. But I thought while I'm down here, I'll work on my laptop and do these videos. Do this video, and then after this, hopefully, go through my paperwork, which I meant to do a couple of hours ago, as it happens. Took a bit longer than planned to get up and have my breakfast. Nice right now. But moving on that note to point number 2, Asian artists. I'd love to support Asian artists, promote Asian art, and see how Asians could learn how to get into art, and then those who are into art already sell their art, or those who are going to get into art. Sorry, not sure what happened there. My thoughts were going faster than my speech as usual, but I malfunctioned. I know I'm a bit robotic. I joke about being an AI, as in Anglo-Indian, and also robotic. But anywho, Asians to get into and sell art, basically, to put it as simply as possible. And also celebrating historical Asian artists and looking at how they can bring their art to market and that kind of thing, and hopefully express themselves and maybe even make some money from art and that kind of thing. Number 3, Asian poets. Asian writers. So I call that poor poets, artists, and writers, just like I said for Black History Month and things like that. So as I say, I love to support Asian poor poets, artists, and writers, and see how they could network together, learn from each other, share each other's works, and things like that to support each other, and see what allies could support them and what they could achieve. And moving on that to number 4, as I say, maybe having networking events. And on the subject of supporting Asian art, please share any poetry, art, and writing. In fact, please share any Asian poor, as in poetry, art, and writing. PAW. I'd say P.A.W. So yeah, seeing how Asians can promote their poetry, art, writing, and things like that. Works by Asians, by Asian poets, artists, and circle writers, and also maybe there could even be pan-Asian. They could be basically poetry, art, and circle writing could be used to promote Pan-Asianism. Another thing is through the Asian Alliance, which I wish to create, which hopefully would promote Pan-Asianism. Hopefully, it will create a lot of peace in the world through a union, and hopefully poetry, art, and writing, and that kind of thing will be part of that. But I hope Asians can come together against war and that kind of thing. There could be Asians against war, again through poetry, art, writing. Maybe they could have signs up in groups and billboards and whatnot, placards or whatever that say Asians against war. And there could be websites, or a website at least, on Asians against war. There could be a YouTube channel, Facebook, and all sorts of things like that. There could be Facebook groups and pages, or at least one, at least a Facebook page and so-called group, and so-called YouTube channel with many videos, perhaps, or at least a few, or whatever they feel is best to have, like Asians against war, hashtag Asians against war, and that kind of thing. But again, I hope an Asian alliance would prevent wars as much as possible, bringing Asians together. Which reminds me as well, something I was thinking about, thinking about things to cover for this video. I thought about shout out to Asian Boss, which is on YouTube. I think they might be on, I'm sure they're on Facebook as well, and probably other socials, as I say, social media, socials, as many people call it. So, as someone says, the socials are all below, so we check that. But yeah, so they Asian Boss talks about preventing war through dialogue and that kind of thing. I believe they said the reason why they founded that channel is to prevent wars, and people laughed, but then they see these wars going on. I think that they mentioned that when it was Russia, when the Russia-Ukraine war started. But I hope, say for instance, a war can be prevented between China and Taiwan, or China and America through Taiwan, or whatever. So I thought that Taiwan could say which one of you are going to invest the most in our nation. So turning a negative or potentially negative situation, which could, in other words, war over Taiwan instead, could be encouraging investment from China and America. They could compete to invest more in the nation. So hopefully that would benefit Taiwan as an Asian nation, especially, rather than them going to war with each other. And I'd rather help people than promote wars or negative things. But also, Asians could work together to tackle, as I say, wars, illnesses, diseases, natural disasters, and things like that, which I hope to talk about in more detail another time, perhaps. But moving on to point number 5, therefore, I'd love to see. I'd love to support Asian ambition. Hopefully, Asians around the world, and those of part Asian or full Asian descent, mixed race people like myself, part Asians and full Asian people, could share their ambitions, whether that's in poetry, art, writing, or whatever other areas, including Asian women, and giving a voice to women, things like which I hope to come to in more details. But yeah, I hope to support Asian aims, ambitions, objectives, dreams, goals, and all that kind of stuff. Number 6, as I say, talking about dreams, I'd love to see more Asians sponsoring, investing into, supporting, following, and practicing with Italian teams to hopefully help them to become world class and win more, and hopefully win trophies and competitions more. Like hopefully helping Italy to become better. I hope with more investment and practice, Italy can do better and even win the World Cup in the future. But also Italian club teams. So my biggest dreams for football, which I might talk about a bit more on Friday or whatnot without giving too much away, are like Italy to win the most World Cups and Italian club teams to win the most trophies in terms of like Conference Leagues, Europa Leagues, Champions Leagues, and things like that. So and UEFA Super Cups and World Club Cups. Sorry for those who are not into football. But yeah, I'd love to see Italian teams winning World Club Cups. One of the things on the subject of World Club Cup or World Club Cups, a little bit off topic here, but in terms of it's not really Asia specific. Maybe Asia could host more World Club Cups, and there could be more funding for Asian clubs as well from FIFA and UEFA. Well, or from FIFA at least, maybe not UEFA. Maybe their governments could get involved and get them involved, but maybe FIFA and other organisations could help them to host more events, and charities could help more people in Asia get into football, whether that's in Pakistan or China or India or across Asia, and maybe they could practice with each other, hopefully, as well as the Italian teams. I'd love for China and India, maybe Italy could help China and India to host a joint World Cup, or even multiple Asian nations. I hope that would bring China and India together more, and not cause more division, but more unity instead. But maybe Italy could say, if you help us to practice, we'll help to lobby FIFA and say, we'll vote for you to host World Cups in the future, like the China and India World Cup, maybe in 2038. Because I don't know who's hosting in 2030. I think it's Saudi Arabia, maybe in 2030, or 2034. So it could be 2038 or something like that. Hopefully the world will still be around at that time. Hopefully long enough for Italian teams to win, for Italy to win the most World Cups, and Italian club teams to win the most competitions. But yeah, I almost forgot my point, which I was going to say before I move on to point number 7. Trying to get to the point as ever. But I think that the World Club Cup, and again, people who are into footy will know about this, but sorry for those who are not into footy. But hopefully I can convince you to check out more about footy. But I think the World Club Cup should carry with it more prize money than the Champions League. It should be the biggest international competition, and it would also mean if Asian and African teams could compete more, they'd get more funding in that as well, and therefore it'd help them to compete in the future. Although I want Italian teams to do well. But yeah, I'd say I'd love for China and India to host the World Club Cup. But I wonder if if FIFA has enough money to. Apparently, it's supposed to be a non-profit or whatever. I know it's known to be a bit corrupt or whatever, but anyway, we'll get to that. But if FIFA have enough money, I wonder if they could fund like £1 billion, or at least dollars, prize money, or even a couple of billion dollars, or even pounds for the winner of the World Club Cup, which would make the World Club Cup the most prestigious competition in club team football. I'm sure that's going to be the biggest. I think the biggest prize money at the moment is just over 100 million. So it would be about 10 times more, or if it's 2 billion, almost 20 times more than the biggest prize money in world football. And it would make it more attractive to teams to want to go and win, rather than like the Champions League, which I think a lot of fans seem to prefer. But I think like it should be the World Club Cup, like your Champions of the World. So I mention that as well because it's Wednesday, like World Cup, World Club Cup, World Class, and that kind of thing. Yeah, hopefully practicing together, investing into sponsoring, following, and of course supporting Italian teams, with teams, academies, and that kind of thing for Italy. Yeah, football-wise, it's been a bit rough, but I might cover that a bit later. But moving on that note to point number 7. Similar things for Celtic, and I wanted to say, because it's a Wednesday, I was thinking about some of my worries for Celtic. Like Celtic did win the league, and I'm hoping we'll win a double on Saturday. 2 big games coming up. One was in fact, there was a big game last Saturday, which was a league decider, and another one Saturday, and then afterwards I hope PSG beat Arsenal. I was thinking disappointed to see Arsenal in the league, so I wanted Man City to beat them. I posted on my Facebook that it's sod's law. I wanted Inter Milan to beat Man City 2 or 3 years ago, and we lost to them. Because I love the Italian teams generally, I wanted them to win. I remember watching it at an Indian restaurant, as it happens. Being really quirky, people will probably think, what's wrong with this guy? Don't blame them. But I'm at 6 or 7 sevens, as they say. I thought I mentioned that 6.7. But on a slightly more serious note, but yeah, and then PSG, like a couple of years later, I think that was last year, they beat us. Obviously, us as a fan of Italian football more generally. Also wearing an Inter cap, as it happens, but I love the Italian team generally. I mean, AC Milan fans were very happy about that thing, but I want to see all Italian teams do well. even the rival ones. So when I wanted, coincidentally, perhaps Man City and then later PSG, coincidentally both oil-rich clubs, as you might say, I wanted them to lose, and they won, and it would be such a sad irony for me, anyway. I know it's the first one, but at least a slightly sad irony for me. And sod's law, as they say, if now Arsenal beat, or as I call them, Arsenal now beat Arsenal no or something like that. But anyway, they beat Man City to the title as Man City blew it. I was thinking some supporters were mocking Man City, and I thought, I hope they don't regret this. And then Man City blew a couple of games in a row. I was hoping it'd be Arsenal that messes up. Arsenal now. But anyway, other than my immaturity, but yeah, it's a difficult. I was thinking I don't know which one's more important to me. Celtic winning the double and winning against Dunfermline. I couldn't remember the name of the team we were playing. Dunfermline. I know I said in my last video. I'm sure it's a team that begins with F, like Falkirk or something like that, but it's Dunfermline, I'm sure. So it wasn't even a team that begins with F or K, like Kilmarnock, as I thought it was. But yeah, I don't know if that one's more important to me, seeing Celtic win the double or seeing PSG have a strange sort of thing. I saw. Although Italy and France don't get on too well, but I'd rather see a French team win it than a Spanish or English team, for instance, if I'm honest. But yeah, I kind of don't want to see the English or Spanish teams do well, because that's bad for Italian football, because they go even further ahead. But my worry with, my worry with Celtic is something I might mention in part 2. Yeah, I think I'm going to mention it in part 2. I was going to mention it now, but I'd love to see Celtic win as many trophies as possible, and even hopefully, I was gutted to see Celtic lose 2 finals, but I'd love to see Celtic maybe catch up with Al Ahly, I think they're called, from Egypt, if I pronounced that right. I forgot the name right and pronounced it right, but yeah, Al Ahly from Egypt. I'd love for us to catch up with them or even overtake them, even though I love Egypt and I have nothing against that team, but to become the most successful domestic team, not only in Europe, but even in the world. In terms of domestic trophies, also not as much as Real Madrid or whatever in Champions Leagues. But again, sorry for those who are not into football. Something I forgot to say in point number 6 actually is I'd love to salute the Asian work ethic as someone who's very lazy and laid back myself, lazy/laid back. But I wonder if they could work smarter and work as a team. And I often say like teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. Many hands make light work. Many minds make light work. You could say, I guess, as well. And that kind of thing. But moving on to number 8, Asians to put their differences aside and love each other, talk about positive things about each other, write positive things in poetry, art, and writing for each other. And maybe there could be creative spaces they could go to where it's peaceful and quiet, and they can focus on their poetry, art, and writing, and create poetry, art, and writing which connects Asia together through Pan-Asianism and promotes peace, dialogue, and things like that, and hopefully improving the quality of life for people across Asia, financially and just generally as well, all being well. Yeah, peace, love, positivity, all that kind of stuff through, in this case, through poetry, art, writing, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think of like having my own creative space I'd love to go to, where I get peace and quiet, just be able to write, make videos, maybe have a smart hub TV when I need a bit of a break to watch TV, or even watch a bit of TV in the background, YouTube, whilst I write, because I love YouTube. Don't watch much regular TV, but yeah, having something like that. I did stay at a hotel once, and sorry, I'm talking about myself, I'm supposed to be talking about Asia, but I know I do go off on my tangents, but I stayed at this hotel, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought, and I think it was a bit small, and there weren't many places to go, and perhaps I was a bit shy in that kind of thing, but I had a bit of writer's block and things like that, but I think because I was out of my comfort zone, it was difficult, but I'm sure I'd get used to it if I kept doing that. But yeah, having peace and quiet, no one calling or distracting me. I should definitely appreciate that and think, yeah, this is great to have peace and quiet. I don't want to preempt the other thing, noise like that. But in bringing it back to Asia, I think something like that for the Asian community in Asia itself, and maybe even around the world, to create poetry or writing in peace and quiet, I think would be a really good thing. creative rooms, utilising empty buildings and that legally. Though, if councils or organisations, associations or whatnot said no one's using this space, you might as well use it, as long as obviously you keep it clean and tidy, I guess. That's an idea, I guess. I don't know if it could be implemented or not. But moving on, number 9, I love to support projects generally by Asians and things Asians work on, whether that's in engineering or any other areas. And as I say, poetry, art, writing, works by Asians. Maybe there could be museums and celebrations and collaborations and things like that by works by Asians and that kind of thing. And I love for there to be like an online library, a world, as I call it, the world's local library. I thought it could be sort of a marketing thing, the world's local library, because people around the world could get access to books online. And I'd love for them to be just £1 sterling, which I suppose for some people will probably be a fair amount, but I thought the writer / author would get, sorry, voice seems to be going. The writer / author would get 50% of all sales. Now, they wouldn't make much money if the books were just £1, because that would just be 50p each, but obviously they'd have to sell in high volume. But I thought also they could keep ownership of their works. But if so many people go on that website because it's cheap, that kind of thing, and paid for also through advertising, that kind of thing, hopefully it'll work as well as possible. And a bit contradictory of me, as I love to hoard notebooks and things like that, but to have a practically / virtually paperless office through MKS for Books Online. And I love for people from Africa, Asia, Latin America, Ireland, Aboriginal communities in Australasia, and Native Americans to work on that. And number 10, I love to support younger Asians with poetry, art and writing to get into it and be encouraged. And also to be able to take a few sensible risks, I guess, and also maybe making businesses outside, and to practice and play football with Italians again, hopefully to help Italy to become world class. Hopefully, if Italy practices at youth level, if Italians and Celts, young Celts, practice at youth level, Celtic sports, and if Italian teams, including the national team and Italian club teams like Inter Milan, AC Milan, Roma, and others, and also Celtic, if they work with Asian nations, have like academies they can practice together. So those are some of my quirky ideas for empowering Asia, more specifically on Wednesdays. And on that note, I'm out, and peace and love. Hope you have a great day.